Hi, this is Curtis at thedigitalphotocoach.com. I want to show you how to use a dappled shade effect to good advantage using Photoshop. I'm starting with a picture that I took at a farmer's market. I have some nice fruit here. It's not a bad picture, but we can fix it up a little bit. Certainly we need to deal with this space up here, and we need to do something down here where the grapes don't quite cover the fabric that is in the basket, and there may be another thing or two, but let's get started off with that. I'm going to grab the clone stamp and go find a grape, maybe there, and I've selected that, and then I'll just come down and put a couple of grapes in on that spot, and that's kind of taken care of. And then we're going to crop it a little bit. Let's check the image size. I think it's an 8 by 10 approximately. It's about 11 by 8, and so I want to get rid of this over here. So let's get the crop tool and make it an 8 by 10, and then crop someplace along here so that we get most of the fruit, and without that open spot showing up. So that looks pretty good. I'll select that, press the enter key, and so we have a cleaner image to work with now. I want to check its dynamic range. I think we can open it up a little bit, but first let's just do that. Let's get the eyedropper tool and open up the info palette and check to see this. It seems to be the largest highlight right here, and that's around 200, 210. So we can go all the way to 250 plus before that highlight would be burned out. So we have some room on that end, and if I look for a dark spot, maybe down here is about the darkest, and that's around 20, 14 to 25, and so we can darken that a little bit too without blocking up the image. So I'm going to do that. In fact, I'll just sample these. I'll hold down the Shift key and sample a spot. And so we now have that 25, 18, and 20. And I'll sample a highlight. That looks like a good place to go. And then get the adjustments and do a curves. And I have mine set up so that it shows percentage rather than value, so it runs from 0 to 100% instead of from 0 to 255 on the brightness values. And you can of course change that in the preferences, but this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this, we're at 100 right now to begin with, and just darken it a little bit down to maybe like 96, and then that has got us now where we were at 25 and 20. We have 10 and 16, so it's a little darker but not blocked up. And on the highlights, I'm going to slide it over a little bit, and you can watch the values here when I slide this over, and just bring up the highlights a little bit. So we've now got a little bit more dynamic range in the image, and I can open the layers and show you this curves that we just did, and we'll turn it off, and you'll see there's not quite as much snap in the image with that turned off as there is when we turn it on. So we've improved it, but I think we can take it a little bit further, and I wanted to give it the effect of dappled shade, and we'll do that by using a 50% gray overlay. I'm going to create a new layer, and then edit, fill with 50% gray, and change the blending mode to overlay. With overlay, anything I put on the layer that is darker than what's on the layer below will make it look darker, and anything that's lighter will make the layer look lighter. So once I've selected that overlay and it's 50% gray, neither light nor dark, we see the image just like it looked without the layer. I turn this on and off and you can see that. If I get my brush now, and I got so 20% opacity, 50% flow with the black brush. If I brush on this, you'll see that it's getting darker. And if you look at the layer, you can see there's a darker spot there where I painted with a darker brush. So I'm just going to use the darker brush in some areas, kind of randomly going through it. We'll get this out of the way so we can see a little bit better. Darken the corners and the edges maybe a little bit more to kind of help keep the eye from wandering out of the picture. So it's kind of like a light burn all the way around. And then maybe I will brighten up a few spots too. I can toggle with this double-headed arrow, or I can press the X key to switch it back and forth between the black and white. I'm going to get some white, and maybe I'm going to make my brush a little smaller and just lighten up a few areas. So now we've got some areas that are lighter and some are darker. I'm going to switch again and darken a little bit more. And let's see how that looks. If I get my layers out here again and turn off the layer that I had been working on here, we can see what kind of change we made. That's what it looked like before. And now we've got a little dappling of the shade. And this, of course, is a matter of taste. You could do more or less. But I think you'll have to agree that we have improved the image with that layer. So I thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. And I remind you to go to thedigitalphotocoach.com on a regular basis, and you'll find more helpful tutorials like this one, as well as some other information you can use to improve your photography.